First of all, I was a vocalist at the piano and played arrangements, like Night and Day was a big arrangement of a piano. And then I sang with the accordion and I did impressions of Arthur Tracy, the street singer that used to be, you wouldn't have heard of him. And he used to sing, Martha, rambling rose of the wild. Yeah, you do all sorts of things. And then, of course, I started to, first of all, I didn't speak at all, I just go from one thing to another. And then I started to introduce the numbers. And then I'd whip in a little quicker, you know. The more quickers I put in, the more laughs. And that's how I developed as a comedian, right from the very beginning. And it grew, and I liked the sound of laughter. So I was doing, eventually I was doing more laughter than playing and singing. But I always had this to fall back on, should they be a tough audience. It always got me out of trouble. Ronnie Wolfe and Ronalds Chesney, they wrote this comedy series, situation comedy. The very first, really, situation comedies ever put on television. I never looked back from then on. And they finally found a slot they could put me in, situation comedy. And that's how it started. I went from one rag trade, went on for quite a few episodes, and went into a Beggar My Neighbour. And when it finally got around to On the Buses, which was, of all, a sensational success. And not only here, but Australia, New Zealand, and funnily enough, on the west coast of America, they loved it there. I got the part because of the rag trade. See, the boys who wrote the rag trade wrote On the Buses. And in fact, I was doing a tour in Australia at the time, and I was in Sydney, and I got a phone call from Ronnie Wolfe. And he's sending you a script, see what you think of it. At that time, it was called Dress Factory. And I read it, and there was Reg there. I thought, oh, God. So I rang back, said, that's it, count me in. And that's actually how it started. When they did the first rag trade, there was a part in the rag trade where it was late at night and the girls went out on strike, you know. It was where Miriam Carlin called Paddy. Everybody's out there. And he said, Peter Jones said, come on, Rachel, he said, we've got one more blouse to do. I said, you can work the machine, you do it, you see. And and he said, get a move on, because I want to. So I'm sewing away at this machine. He said, you finished? I said, yes. And he said, give us it here. And he took it, and I signed it, retired to it. A lovely gag, because he said afterwards, no one else, only a comic could have timed it like that, because an extra didn't know it was coming. But we did about 40 episodes of the rag trade. Then somebody else wrote Beggar My Neighbour, which is quite a big success. I like that as well. And that was Pat Coon, June Whitfield and Peter Jones. Pat Coon was my wife, June Whitfield was Peter's wife. And it was a bit, we had a lot of fun in that. But it was nowhere near as successful as the Buses. And the two boys who wrote the rag trade wrote, see, but somebody else wrote Beggar My Neighbour. But they come along with the Buses and they said, I think you'll like this one. And that was it. And On the Buses, I'm proud of everything I've ever done. That happened to be the most famous because it was the most, if we'd have only done half a dozen perhaps, they wouldn't have taken off so much. It was the on and on and on which did the trick. They always say that you've got to do at least 6 before they take off. That's even in everything, like rag trade, same thing, and that became enormously big. It didn't come as big as Buses. The Buses was stronger, in as much that it was the bus. It was the uniforms, we were dealing with the public, and it was unusual.